I'm not sure anymore just how it happened before. The places that I knew were sunny and blue. I can feel it deep inside, this black nigga's pride. I have no fear when I say, and I say it every day. Every nigga is a star. Every nigga is a star. Who will deny that you and I and every nigga is a star? I have walked the streets alone. 20 years I've been on my own. To be hated and despised, no one to sympathize. But there's one great thing I know. You can say I told you so. We've got a bright place in the sun where there's love for everyone. Every nigga is a star. Every nigga is a star. Who will deny that you and I and every nigga is a star? Every nigga's a star. Every nigga's a star. Every nigga's a star. Every nigga's a star. We've got a bright place in the sun where there's love for everyone. Every nigga is a star. Every nigga is a star. Who will deny that you and I and every nigga is a star? Every nigga's a star. Yes, every nigga is a star. Every nigga's a star. Every nigga is a star.
Good evening, and welcome to Elle Barbara's primetime web TV special. My name is Trana Winter, and we are coming at you live from Montreal. For years, Elle Barbara has been a fixture on the underground scene, but has always remained a mystery to so many. So who exactly is the real Elle Barbara? An avant-garde singer, an elusive chanteuse, a performance artist, radical thinker, a trans heroine. Tonight, I have been granted exclusive access to the idiosyncratic mother of the House of Barbara herself. And tonight, for the first time ever, she is finally ready to reveal herself. Well, at least part of herself. She is a Gemini after all, and a Gemini has to keep some secrets for themselves. So stay with me as we dive in to the sophisticated world of Elle Barbara and celebrate the release of her new double A-side single, Délices Créoles and Peach Puree. The fun is just about to start, so do not go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Fofo, and I'm here to show you how to get fit. It's time to burn that baby fat, shake that BBL, and turn this mother out. If you identify as queer, trans, and or BIPOC, I want to work out with you. This July, I'll be hosting 4 workouts outdoors, 1 time per week. Stay tuned for details on the House of Barbara Instagram page. It's time to get fit with Fofo. All right, squat position. Make sure when you do squats to always keep your back straight. You don't want your knees to pass your toes too much. Ready? And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Push-up position. Very important when you do push-ups, to always flex your core. Don't let your back drop. Keep your elbows rounded in and go as hard as you can. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. Stay there. Drop your knees down. Time to go for the booty. Now it's going to be time to do the leg raises to work the ass and shape that BBL. Left leg up. 1, down, 2, down, 3, down, 4, down, 5, hold, perfect, down. All right, now it's time to work the core. On your back, please. On your sides. All right. Side plank. All right, very important to hold. Ready and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. It's done. Last part, crunches. Lie down on your back. Very important with crunches. Don't flex your neck too much. Just flex your abs as much as you can and let your neck relax. Hands on your head. And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Great job. And that's how you get fit with Fofo.
Well, it's the moment we've been waiting for. I am finally here with Elle Barbara herself. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good.
Chill, relaxed?
Not so chill and relaxed. I mean, it's been a big undertaking for me to kind of like imagine this TV special. Yeah, like drawing inspiration from like, you know, Sonny and Cher, all that like 60s, 70s variety fare. And so, yeah, and I'm grateful that Swoni Peril Popolo allowed me to do this.
And your look right now is everything. Like, I can't breathe almost, honestly. Tell us the inspiration behind this moment.
I want to say Ronnie Spector. Yeah, I never even thought of myself as looking like her, but a lot of people have, you know, come forward and telling me that we had a resemblance, and so I decided to honor that. Also in keeping with the song that I'm doing next, which is kind of 60s inspired. So, yeah.
Very excited. I mean, you're releasing your double A-side single. This is a moment of you really coming forward and putting yourself out there. And in addition to the amazing performances that you have in store for us tonight, we'll be talking a lot, getting to know you. But you've always been a very mysterious figure. I don't know how much of that is cultivated and intentional or how much is just naturally you, but why do you feel like now is the time that you want people to get to know you in a more real way?
I mean, it's hard to tell. I feel that prior to my transition, I came from a place of, well, as an artist, I came from a place of wanting to provoke or not wanting to be perceived as like an attractive person, but rather, you know, a provocateur. And it was kind of like, fuck you, whereas now is more fuck me, I would say. I want to reel the viewer into my world and seduce in opposition to how, like, what my stance was before I transitioned artistically. So yeah, I feel more open, and I've also realized in the last few years how much positive influence I had over people, just like in my community, looking at younger queer kids of color mostly who look up to me. And I didn't realize that I had that power. I always erred on the side of like nihilism before. And so, yeah, like it's a blend of like all sorts of things coming together. that encouraged me to open up a bit more. And like, I used to lie in interviews a lot before, and it's not something that I want to do.
So tonight you're giving us the truth.
I mean, yeah.
Or as much of it as you're willing to give.
As much of it, yeah.
I mean, I love hearing you talk about discovering this power and this positive influence that you have on people. You really do. Like, I feel it even when I'm just watching some of your Instagram videos and it's you just talking. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember there was one video where you were talking about your transition as sort of being your artistic masterpiece. And I thought that was so illuminating and something that I'd never really heard before. Can you speak a little bit about that and how you see your transition as almost a kind of art?
Well, totally. I mean, that definitely drew inspiration from another video, like this other trans woman, I think, like based in Canada, who was referring to her transition as like being a work of art. And it really like touched me in a profound way. People tend to not frame transitioning as being artistic, but, it can be a work of art. I modeled my identity, or sort of like my feminine expression, around, cues I took from mostly artists, And I think it's the case for a lot of trans women. Like, we look up to like actresses, models, singers, and whatnot. And so it's not to undermine the real, quote unquote, real artistic work that I've done, but transitioning, has been creative on so many levels for me, and I put a lot of love into it.
Yeah. Who are some of those inspirations? Like, who are some of those actresses or pop culture figures that have informed this sort of vision of femininity for you?
I think a lot of it is kind of not really conscious, but like within the realm of image making or like music videos. Like I did the Si J'étais un homme cover.
Yeah, which I love.
Thank you. And that heavily drew from, well, of course, Dalida.
I love her.
I know, you're
like growing up in an Egyptian family. Like I remember when I was a kid, like it was like, who is this like glamorous, cross-eyed woman who's like was so over the top in her glam that as a kid it was almost funny, but now as a grown-up it's like, wow, like she's the most gorgeous thing
ever, yeah. Such a huge, and also like kind of like underestimated in many ways, like from a kind of like serious, perspective, like musical perspective. Like she's not respected outside of like the realm of, dragness and gayness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love her. Diana Ross was also a big inspiration for this. Ronnie, of course. But yeah, there's just like so many women out there, and it'll change depending on what the artistic context is. As far as my everyday life is concerned, I don't know. Like, I feel like I take, bits and pieces of everything.
So in the spirit of tonight and revealing more of yourself and telling us your truth, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people might have about you? Because you've really been this fixture in the Montreal art scene, but a lot of people, like, I remember when I first saw you, I was like so blown away, but like also a bit intimidated because you're so talented, you're so gorgeous. So what do you think people maybe misconceive about you?
Well, it's hard to tell because I try to be oblivious to, what people say, or like they're like things are hardly reported to me. But I've definitely heard that I was intimidating, that I was.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. By the way, for me, it's more. It's like it comes from a place of like awe. Of like, this person is like too good for me to be in their presence, kind of thing.
What? Okay, I look up to you so much, Trana. You're my favorite comedian, I have to say.
Thank you.
So yeah, I guess like people have said that about me, and I guess like you being a comedian is like a different ballgame because you use your experience, like you kind of put your heart
Right.
on your sleeve. And
But so do you in your own way. Like, I mean, and I
Yeah.
think that we're getting more of that vulnerability from you, which is
Yeah.
really exciting.
Uh-huh.
But it is interesting that, like, you know, there's this vibe of sometimes intimidation. And I think that's because you are so empowered and have such a clear vision of what you want for yourself and your art. But there, you spoke about it a bit earlier, this idea of community. And one of the things that you're really well known for is your sort of place in the ballroom world. And can you talk a bit about that and House of Barbara and how that came to be? And what does that mean to you in your life?
Well, it means a lot. I don't come from ballroom per se. I knew very little about the culture prior to diving into it. And the Sony Peril Popolo people, invited me on their artistic board a few years ago and asked me to pitch something. And I thought that there would be nothing more radical in the sort of like, you know, even like the forward-thinking microcosm than organizing an event that would center Black queer people. So I decided to do that, and you know, by way of like organizing so many ballroom events, people started to refer to me as Mother, and so I started the House of Barbara with like a bunch like of greatly like talented young individuals, very promising, and I also push the practice. It's not so much about like winning, you know, a prize at the ball, but also pushing, well, being rooted in solidarity and elevation. And I try to push everyone to like move forward in their respective artistic paths. And, you know, I've also taken up like doing like performance art more seriously. And so like we're creating a piece together as we have like in the last few years.
Right. Is that something that you wish you had access to when you were younger? Like, what were you like as a kid or a teen? Like, what was little Elle like?
Very shy, insecure. You mentioned vulnerability earlier. I think I'm still working towards, you know, accessing my own vulnerability and showing it. It's not something I feel entirely
not
comfortable.
easy.
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, I think for a lot of people in the queer community, there is trauma and there's self-protective walls that we've had to build for our survival, and it's really not easy to tear those down.
Hugely, yeah. And that being intersected with like being Black, yeah, it's just like layers upon layers, and we're experiencing antagonism not just from society, but on the part of your own family, and feeling that like you can't really, you know, resort to like any hub that will elevate you in your most natural and authentic expression. So yes, I wish I would have had that. And yeah, I try to, you know, I try to be that kind of provider, if you will, to the best of my ability.
Yeah. What do you think your younger self would think seeing what you've become, what you've been able to accomplish?
Oh, I would have never thought, I never imagined myself, you know, the way that I am now. Like transitioning isn't even something that was on my mind growing up. Of course, like it, you know, watching like, you know, not reality shows, a Jerry Springer, well, not necessarily Jerry Springer, but like, you know, seeing transes mentioned in the context of television, of course, like it crossed my mind, but I never considered it seriously. So yeah, it was a surprise. And I started my transition kind of on a whim. It's not something that was highly premeditated. I
It
kind
just
of like,
felt right.
yeah, like coming back, I went to live in Paris for a year, and I came back and felt depressed. And, you know, within, you know, the span of a few weeks, I kind of decided to go for it. So yeah, it wasn't like a long process
Right.
of decision making for me.
Well, you are a work of art, and we are about to see you in action. You are going to perform for us your song, Peach Puree.
Peach puree, yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit about the song before you run off and get on that stage?
I mean, some people may have already seen like a video that I did featuring some of the members, some of my children from the House of Barbara. And yeah, it's off of the release that we're doing, the double A side release with Peach Pure and Delise.
Which is streaming everywhere now, and there's gonna be a vinyl single coming soon too.
There's going to be vinyl tape, a bunch of remixes like being rolled out. And so that's going to come later. And I think they're shipping out in September.
Amazing.
But the two main kind of like original tracks are streaming right now.
And you're gonna go perform it for us right now.
Period.
Can't wait.
Everybody is gay.
Elle Barbara, singer, songwriter, performance artist, pin-up, radical thinker. House of Barbara's distinctive mother is back again with an all-new double A-side maxi single, featuring the Zouk-style Delise Creole and the Yeah City pop mash Peach Puree. As well as remixes by Dion, CL, Jesse Lanza, Namesh, Wizard Apprentice, and more. Pre-orders for the limited edition 12-inch vinyl and cassette tape starting now. Don't miss while quantities last.
Also available on your favorite digital streaming services right now.
Elle Barbara's Black Space. Revel in the peach-flavored delight.
And we are back with Elle Barbara. That was an electrifying performance of Peach Puree. I see we've had a little ensemble switch up. What is the inspiration?
Making me cackle, and I can't breathe properly because of the trainer I'm wearing. The inspiration, I don't know. I just like threw it on. It's something that Stephanie Burbano, who directed the segment, had, and I just felt that it'd be a look.
I love it. I mean, we spoke
Yeah.
earlier about your desire to seduce.
Right.
And I'm just wondering how you got to a point where you feel just so comfortable and confident in that seduction. Like, I would love to wear something like that, but I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, I think there's an element of drama and theater to this. It's not how I am on the day-to-day.
Right, it's not a grocery store look.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. Okay, I
But
like that.
those days, those moments hardly happen in my life. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting how we can frame, like, having an experience of transness can make you frame femininity in a way that could be perceived to be exaggerated from a cisgender perspective. So yeah, but I'm comfortable doing that. I'm comfortable projecting these exaggerations, which, from my standpoint, is not an exaggeration. I'm just being playful.
Right, totally.
I'm a doll.
And do you feel like a sense of empowerment and control in that?
100%, yeah. I mean, it has to be rooted in that. The moment your visual presentation and expression veers towards sort of like objectification, like that doesn't sit well with you, is when it's bad. Like, you have to be empowered in the way you present.
Right.
At least from
and it
my
does come
experience.
through. I think your seduction ability is through the roof.
Thank you.
So we just heard you sing Peach Puree.
Yeah.
And there's a line that mentions Bill 101. And I'd love to hear you talk a bit about that and what kind of statement you're trying to make.
I don't know if I'm in the mood to get into it. Like, it was a tongue-in-cheek lyric that I wrote, but I realize now that it's just like very of the moment. It's being used by politicians in power on a provincial level to kind of, sway voters towards them. And of course it touches, it's something that the specter of, that is something that I grew up with, having been raised in Quebec, and it also touches on identity. So yeah, I don't know. I always find it interesting to frame my intersectional experiences within a Quebec context, because like this whole I won't call it a package, but like, the layers of like Bill 101 and like Bill 21, they all have to do with identity. But yeah, I wasn't even writing it from that perspective. I was just being tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
And so it says like Bill 101, que la loi m'empêche, like no matter what they'll have me do, like no matter what laws are in place, I'll do whatever I want.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great message. You mentioned growing up in Quebec and the sort of complicated relationship that you have with this province. I think a lot of us do. How do you sort of encapsulate that? Is Quebec a place that you feel like you belong in? Do you feel like an outsider here? Can you talk a bit more in detail about your relationship to this place?
Well, no, like I would say that Quebec, or at least Montreal, is home. I mean, I was born and I grew up here. Of course, the layers of identity politics that were already in place have made it hard for me to sort of feel, to feel empowered in my like layers of identity as a Black trans feminine or gender non-conforming person. And so adding a layer of, linguistic identity, like the French-English dichotomy, definitely complicates the construction, or has complicated the construction of my own identity. But it's so complicated, and I've decided to distance myself from that whole that dichotomy. The French and English dichotomy isn't something that I'm willing to partake in, because it's for white people, basically. I have nothing to do with that.
Right.
And I think of language as a tool, as a way to communicate. And, it's very much how Peach Puree was written. There's a bit of like French and English in there. And I mean, for people to fucking like control the way I express myself verbally is, I don't know, it like kind of reeks of colonialism. I'm not saying that it's necessarily their intention, but like from my perspective, being of Haitian descent and like understanding or having like a different relationship with the French language, and that like it was used as an oppressive tool onto my ancestors. So whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking a lot about identity, and you're mentioning these layers of identity.
Yeah.
As an artist who is a public figure, and I mean, we're having an interview right now, and obviously you've done many interviews before. I've experienced this too. A lot of people love to focus on our transness and the things that make us sort of other to the mainstream. Do you ever feel like talking about being trans feels like a burden sometimes? Like, do you feel like it's just exhausting? Sometimes for me personally, I'm just like, can we move on to something else? So I'm curious about how you feel about expressing that and talking about it, and does it ever reach a point where it feels like, can we move on to something else?
It hasn't reached that point yet for me, because I spent the first few years of my transition kind of like not really doing interviews. I was hardly releasing any music or doing any of that stuff. And also like the euphoria that, comes with transitioning, like, at least in my experience, like transitioning medically in the first few years, I felt so euphoric and felt like talking about like transness and like hormones all the time. And as I re-enter the media space, if you will, it hasn't hit me yet, because I haven't done enough of those interviews.
Okay, that makes sense. So call me when you're tired of it, and we'll dish.
Oh yeah, you have that.
I mean, especially when it's from like a cisgendered interviewer, and it's like, I think their idea of transness has not really evolved all that much.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe this is something you've already experienced, or maybe you will experience, launching yourself with this new project. Sometimes there's this expectation that we're supposed to represent the entire community, and that our experience is a reflection on other people's experience, which is not usually the case. Do you ever feel like you're made to represent an entire group, and how do you feel about that?
Oh, I could definitely feel that, and I would try to make it clear that I'm not a representative of the entire community. But the thing for me is sort of like answering like really rudimentary questions about transness. I don't know, that could feel annoying. But generally speaking, I mean, I invited you, I asked you to host this show by way of like your transness, of like you being quote unquote ethnic. I say that in quotation marks because I don't like that term. But I prefer to interact with people who share somewhat similar experiences in the interview space. So trans women, Black women, that's what I prefer to fuck with.
Yeah.
So long as it's not I mean, I was going to say something about Mercury retrograde. I'm trying to not do interviews during Mercury retrograde.
I think that's wise.
Yeah.
I think that's wise. I mean, I love that you brought up astrology. I always act like I'm more into it than I really am, but I do love it, and there's a lot of truth in it. You are a Gemini.
Yeah.
How do you think you represent that sign? Like, what are your most Gemini-esque traits?
Well, I think that I'm fluid in social interactions, and I can easily go from, I see myself as, having the capacity to move from one group to the next. And I'm driven by communication, thought processes. So yeah, very mercurial. Also, my Mercury's ruled by, my Gemini's ruled by Mercury.
What does that mean?
Well, my
No, I mean, I know what it means, but like, what does it mean in terms of like qualities that it manifests or an effect that it has?
well, it means that it's at home.
Okay.
Gemini's at home when ruled by Mercury.
Oh.
And so I guess it accentuates my Gemini quality. And this is why it's better I avoid communicating in a professional or sort of like media context when
Right.
Mercury's retrograding, because it fucks me up more. And I've just come to this realization.
Well, I'm glad that you have. And now you can
Yeah.
navigate that and avoid any problematic moments.
I hope so.
So, Elle, you are about to change into yet another ensemble for your next performance that I know we are going to be dazzled by. For everyone watching, we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with more Elle Barbara.
Now it's time for the advanced version of all the exercises. First up, single leg squats. Raise your arms in front of you. Make sure your core is tight. Leg up and start. Next up, plyo push-ups. Now it's time to work the glutes and the core at the same time. Now it's time for advanced side plank. And now it's time for full sit-ups. If you train with me, give yourself some time and you'll get up to these exercises. That's how you train with Fofo. Stay tuned on the House of Barbara Instagram page.
Have you been experiencing pins and needles in your hands, feet, head, and neck when trying to watch TV? Has your bed been vibrating when you're going to sleep at night? Are you having recurring dreams about water parks, hotels, or interdimensional portals? You may be receiving messages from the Pleiades or Andromedan star systems to expand your consciousness and remember your unactivated DNA. If these experiences sound familiar to you, don't panic. It's a sign that the age of Pisces is coming to an end while we embrace the new age of Aquarius. For questions, concerns, or to reach out to your new community, go ahead, send us a thought.
Welcome back to Elle Barbara's TV special. And now I'm actually in bed with the lady herself. Do you know how many people are jealous of me right now? Do you know how many people have dreamed of being in my exact position in this moment?
I don't know. I wouldn't know, no.
So modest.
No. Perhaps just oblivious.
And a little shy.
Yeah, very shy.
I find it really hard to believe you're shy given the ensemble that you are presently wearing. What's the inspiration and the mood for this?
I don't know. I just want to throw something on, and my friend Chris lent it to me, so I went for that. I also got my boobs done, and so
Why not show them off?
Why not show them off, considering the price I paid?
So is this something that you would wear on a first, maybe not a date, but a little hookup moment, like a gentleman caller is coming over? Would you answer the door in something like this?
I haven't considered it. I don't know. I kind of hate it when guys ask me what I'm going to wear for them. I've definitely had situations where, dude would ask me oh, are you going to wear some lingerie? And I don't know. I don't know if I feel that. I wear the fuck I want, mostly for me. And I feel good in this. This is my special, and period.
Absolutely. Do you feel like when someone is coming over for a special night with you, that do you set the mood? You just performed for us a fantastic Roberta Flack cover that was it's such a sensual song. I know when I have someone coming over, I choose the soundtrack very carefully. There's some candles. I try to set a mood. Do you set a mood?
I do set a mood. I have a problem with music, though, in case the sex is bad, because I don't want to be triggered. I don't want to put music that I like and then be triggered in the future in case I'm reminded of the bad sexual experience when listening to the same music. And I also enjoy sex, just sex noise.
Oh, that's the real soundtrack.
So that's the real soundtrack for me. As far as, visual elements or sort of moody kind
Props.
of props. Exactly. Candles, candles, incense, that can be a mood for sure.
But I think that's a really good point that you made about not choosing a song that you actually love too much because you don't want there to be that mental association with the song afterwards.
Period, exactly. But also I don't really do any of the Spotifys, any of that stuff. And so whatever music that I have, I tend to play off of tapes or vinyls, which chances are I like. So
right.
Yeah, sometimes
and also
I feel
with vinyl,
stuck.
when you're 15 minutes into it, you got to go flip over to the B-side.
True,
You don't want to, ruin the
yeah.
moment.
For sure, yeah. No, I agree with that. Or even if I play the radio, I don't want to find myself in a space where I could potentially be triggered or re-traumatized.
Right.
When hearing a song. So I'd rather it be silent.
Definitely. Is there a song that you do associate with bad sex? I remember one time having really bad sex, and the person who I was with was playing Lorena McKennitt. You know that Celtic singer?
Yeah.
I can't hear that song. I mean, I didn't like that song ever, but that song really brings back that moment for me.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think I have one specific song in mind. I'm just incredibly I'm just like really cautious, and it's something that crossed my mind not too long ago, actually,
Right.
where I felt that like, you know, the sex wasn't gonna be great and that like he was gonna be sort of annoying. And I kept going through my collection and I was like, okay, I can't play
No,
this. and I
he's
can't
not
play
worthy
that.
of Roberta Flack.
Period.
So, are you in love at the moment? Are you single? What's the situation?
Oh my God. Okay, you're going in. I am. I'm single. I can't say that I'm in love. I mean, I got out of a relationship in January, and right as Venus was retrograding, and it was accompanied by a bunch of traumatic events. And so, yeah, it's been a difficult year for me, and I've definitely wanted to. Yeah, I want to give myself time to kind of get in there, but I would love to be able to, you know, mingle sometime this summer.
It would be nice.
It would be nice, but there's hardly any options out there that I find.
What are you looking for? Like, what draws you to a person, either physically or personality-wise?
It varies so much, and my criteria change from like hookup partners to kind of more sort of long-term, or I mean, I'm never in long-term relationships, mid-term. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know.
I mean, in a way, it's good not to have a list or this ideal that you're chasing, because I think sometimes that can close you off to what actually might just come your way organically.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like I tend to like high mask, you know, a guy who can throw it down, but not just sexual. Someone I can have like
Like a real conversation
real conversations with. I like being conversational. I want someone who can like get along with my circle of friends.
Right.
So that's also important to me. And ideally someone that's not too young. Like the one person I think, you know, there might be an opening with for me as far as like the spring, summer's concerned is like, you know,
A little
early
younger?
20s.
Okay,
Yeah,
why not?
a little younger, but I don't know, it gets tired for me. I feel
Right.
exposed also as like a cougar or whatnot.
I mean, you look gorgeous and timeless and ageless, truly. So I don't think you need to be too concerned with that.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's still like it's not about like the way that I look, but more so like reflecting on just my experience,
Right.
like having started my transition. I want to say like less than 6 years, like just over 5 years ago, and so I feel that you know a new life started then. But like I don't want to find myself feeling like I'm trying to catch up by
Right.
you know, linking up with people who might be of equal experience, so to speak, but, you know, they're technically so much younger. I don't know, it's a bad feeling. But I also know that it comes from a place of ageism and, like, you know, femmes and women not being allowed to have fun past a certain age.
Right, definitely. Do you think that younger guys have less hangups about being with a trans woman? I think this is something that we've spoken about this even more privately than this moment. But, you know, it's straight men sort of tend to have this panic around their attraction to trans women. Do you feel like younger men are more with it and are less hung up about gender identity or are more understanding?
I'd say yes, an average, but again, you don't know because like there's so many, like you know, people come from like different sets of experiences, and so I wouldn't put it past men in their early 20s to have what do you call that, like trans panic. But yeah, like definitely, I don't know if they're more open or if it stems from me navigating spaces that tend to attract younger people. You think of like the night, you know,
The
the
nightlife.
nightlife, you know, the party, the music scene, which, you know, is normal for me to navigate as a trans person, because like those spaces have been, you know, the spaces that like, you know, we congregate in as trans women, that we organize politically also. Yeah, it's normal for me to find myself in those spaces, and like all this to say that like a lot of young guys end up there.
Right. Are there things that as a trans woman now at this point in your life that you will not put up with anymore? Like, you know, I've had my moments of just sort of allowing myself to be objectified and allowing myself to be sort of treated as this object of fascination. I'm getting kind of over it. I'm just curious for you if there are things that now is like a deal breaker for you.
I mean, you're talking about chasers,
Yeah,
like
I guess,
a trans amorous, yeah. I mean, I don't mind. Like, I don't knock Grindr, and I don't mind hooking up with chasers and like guys that are specifically geared towards trans women. It just so happens that like all the guys that I've dated up until now weren't like had never been with trans women before, and I don't think that they were so particularly like focused on like trans femininity that like they would go and like date another trans woman after me. It was
Right.
kind of like a one-off or
Right.
whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with trans amorous. I think the trans amorous is like not the same category as chaser. Chaser for me like is more like fetishizing.
Okay.
And I don't know that I would put up with that. Like if you want to have conversations, like what are you going to talk about?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And also sexually, like it doesn't work. Like don't come at me like asking me to, you know.
Asking you to what?
Just like, yeah, there's just like sexual things that like chasers tend to be into that I don't want. Or they tend to like want to focus on either, you know, certain anatomy or certain things like, you know, I'm not into pegging.
Yeah,
like I'm not
right.
about to like, yeah, to
Please.
throw it down.
You're not about to
on
compromise
you.
your Christianity.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't do that.
So I don't think that I could fully channel my Barbara Walters energy tonight if I didn't end this conversation with a rumor that maybe you can confirm or deny for us. I heard that there were some rumors that you had or are having a lesbian moment.
Who said that?
I've heard it through the grapevine.
Oh my God. You know what? It's funny.
a small world,
'cause
Montreal.
It is a small world. And I was like, I've been just going around like talking about lesbian iconography and how I want to replicate it in the form of art. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I kind of, you know, want to be obscure about it.
Let people keep guessing.
Yeah, keep them guessing. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, Elle, I could talk to you about this for hours and hours, and this whole evening has been such an unbelievable joy and pleasure getting to know you better, seeing all the incredible performances that you gave us tonight. We're going to end this evening with the premiere of your new music video.
This music video I'm really excited about. It was like we shot it on green screen, but it was animated by an artist in Oakland named Wizard Apprentice. And they're also a great musician. They did one of the remixes for that track, and I'm really obsessed with what they do and feel honored that they're willing to collaborate with me on so many levels.
I am so
Yeah.
excited, and I would just like to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Again, this has been such a sexy, sensual, fun, glamorous evening. What a better way to top it off than with the premiere, the exclusive premiere of Délices Créole.